Hi Mark, welcome to the People in Housing podcast. I'm here with Mark Turner. If you want to introduce yourself and let me know who you are, Mark.
Yeah, no worries. So Mark Turner, Chief Commercial Officer at the Housing Network, and I'd describe myself as the guy that fell into housing a little bit accidentally nearly 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So almost 20 years in the adventure sports business, traveling the world, and then one day someone tempted me into this space, and it really struck me. There are two distinct layers of society in this world, and unless you know what other people consider normal, acceptable, tolerable, you just haven't got a clue. And from that point onwards, falling into the sector here in Birmingham, actually, working particularly in the rough sleeping sector, built various models that help people towards independence, and never look back. It's fair to say I don't do the hard work. I'm in absolute awe with every single member of our team. We employ now at the Housing Network about 320 colleagues up and down the country, Edinburgh to Plymouth, Liverpool to Norwich. What they do every day, that's actually the hard work.
No, of course. And what is it you oversee at the Housing Network?
So the CCO role is quite interesting, and we did really think about the word commercial in the title because it can have the wrong connotations. But working with my directors, we design and build the models that the team implement. And so far, those models genuinely are helping to bring around an end to homelessness and rough sleeping. But particularly where we can use the skill sets of my team and we can design models that are really cost effective for the local authorities, tackling subsidy loss by, in some cases, up to 75%. And the team at the moment are achieving outcomes with for example, in some of our single person services that operate in Leicester, Coventry, Bristol now, and Aylesbury, 96.6% tenancy sustainment. Now, to give you an idea, Bob, who might be living in that service, may have only held a tenancy for 2, maybe 3 weeks over his adult lifespan. And the team are now, with movements between different schemes and different services, helping him to maintain a place to call home. And that means that we're not breaking down trust. It means we're not re-traumatizing, and it means he can move on. And in our single services, the team are helping families that may never have experienced homelessness in their life stabilize and then move back on into more stability within about 12 months. And something like 34% of those families are achieving that in the first year.
It's really good. I mean, going off that then, what would you say you guys are doing different?
I think the core fundamentals, so Sukhvinder Rai that works for me, and she's our Director of Housing and Support. She was the Senior Commissioner in Hertfordshire for homelessness and multiple disadvantage. I'm also joined by Catherine Hook, who was one of my directors of housing and community from previous organisation. And we've started to bring all of the concepts together, the best of all of our worlds. I can build a commercial model that stacks up, is sustainable, saves the local authority a huge amount of money, gives us enough revenue to deploy resources. But then between Sukhvinder, Catherine and the rest of our team, that they're designing models that prevent the breakdown in trust. The one thing that strikes me again and again is whether it's Bob or in case of families, Bob, Wendy and little Billy, telling the stories about they've been helped before, but that help's been short-lived, and they've done something wrong in the eyes of the provider or the eyes of the system and got evicted or had to abandon their accommodation. And it means they go back to the start of the journey. And if you just imagine that continual nearly there, rug gets pulled out, back to the start. Every single one of our models are designed to be non-risk averse, and eviction is a genuine last resort. And truly step up, step down, which means when things are going well, you're progressing on towards opportunities. When things go wrong, we don't cut ties. We allow you to step back, regroup, and move forwards again.
That's great. I mean, we've worked with you guys now for the past few years, so we know you guys do some really great things. I mean, on to, we hosted the People in Housing Awards a few months ago now. You guys won the best public/private sector partnership. Tell me about, go into a bit of detail on that, because it was obviously a great night.
Yeah, I've got to say, I commented that night and the few days after. As a set of awards, it probably felt like one of the most genuine awards we've ever been to in this role and previous roles. You guys actually did it from a personal point of gratitude and pride, so fair play on that one.
That was the aim.
So in terms of the partnership model, So the key area that we're seeing a lot of our growth at the moment, which is growth as a response to social need, is what we would call the Active Opportunities Pathway, or AOP. It's a model that leans in on learning that we've all built over several years, but in essence, it's a pathway model, and it consists of several core areas: safe and sound, seen and heard, live and grow, momentum, breathe, and now link. And each one of those different AOP areas is specifically designed for a different group, from rough sleepers through to care leavers aged 18 to 25, through to prison leavers. And the whole premise is to support in a pathway model, step up, step down, non-risk averse, genuinely trying to make it fracture proof so people continue to move forwards. And each one is designed for a different group of people, very specialist skill sets for our support workers. Some services staff 24 hours a day, others more of a floating support basis. And one of the things we've done is capture the lived experience voice. So it's easy for me to sit in an office and design a service, but having never lived in a service, I just don't know what that's like.
Of course.
So we regularly bring together lots of our residents from single services and families, and we ask them what it's like to live within our services. What would make it better? What would help them gain more motivation, pride in self, and energy to move forwards? Because from a personal point of view, 15 years into the sector, there is nothing worse than someone with a badge on telling someone this is what you need to do to change your life.
He's never been and done it. He's never kind of been in that situation before.
Exactly that. So listen to what the people that are in that situation and circumstance need and want, and genuinely listen, and then help them by designing services that deliver against their asks. That's the fundamental difference.
And has this launched?
Yeah, so AOP, the first Active Opportunities Pathway opened in Leicester in September 2024.
Nice.
And as I sit here right now, the team have been commissioned to deliver 880 units of Active Opportunities Pathway right the way across the UK. Building out from the Midlands, if I'm honest, and every single authority that's worked with us, they've had that initial take of, this sounds too good to be true. And I think almost wanted to test us and see if we could deliver against the promises. And without exception, they've all come back to us and said, this is amazing. Can we get more? So, for example, in Bristol, we started off with AOP Live and Grow, which is dispersed accommodation for single people. Then we moved to AOP Breathe, which is really high quality, psychologically informed homes for vulnerable families. Because from our point of view, if we can help little Billy avoid growing up into be Bob, who may be homeless, that's a mission and a half. So the family stuff really does drive us at the moment. And Bristol are now talking to us about Momentum, which is specialist accommodation for care leavers, 18 to 25, who may have been within, let's call it the system, for most of their teenage years. And it's a big step to go from real wraparound support at 17 and 364 days to an adult homelessness sector. So we've created much smaller micro communities for those residents. It's all designed to prevent things going wrong as they transition to adulthood.
And what would you say the main challenges are for that?
I think with any of particularly the Active Opportunities Pathway services, the biggest thing is demonstrating trust. Because anybody who's been in the homelessness space as a service user or resident for any length of time has seen the promises fail. So they move into a service, the promises are right up there. We'll help you, we're there for you, we're not going to let you down. But then when I've chatted to loads and residents that are in that space, they talk about the one time something happened in their life and their default safety mechanism or coping mechanism might have been alcohol or substances, and they got evicted. You've got to go beyond that. You've got to accept that what we consider normal coping mechanisms at the weekend, whether it's jiu-jitsu or running or cycling, some people have different coping mechanisms, and it's what's right for one person is not right for another. So we genuinely do absolutely everything to try not to evict. And you've got to accept that Bob, or even Bob, Wendy and little Billy, will test. And I find this quite fascinating that they will test maybe property damage, maybe antisocial behaviour. But you've got to really demonstrate, or rather the team have got to really demonstrate that that's fine, it's not acceptable, but we're not going to react in a negative way. Let's work out what's driving that behaviour, what's under the surface, and then let's help both parties understand what that is and how we get beyond it.
That's great. I mean, as I said, you guys are doing some really great stuff, so it's obviously good to hear. And yeah, we obviously really appreciate you guys turning up to the People in Housing Awards, putting your submission in, and you guys winning. So you obviously done something right, Mark. So obviously, we spoke about the ALP. You guys obviously just went into that. What's next for the housing network? Because I know obviously you guys have a lot of missions, a lot of plans. What's kind of the next things going forward?
Yeah. So in terms of what comes next, so as the housing network, tonight we'll probably support around about 5,500 people to avoid homelessness.
Yeah.
As I say, Edinburgh to Plymouth, Liverpool to Norwich, right across the UK. We're not seeing need or demand go anywhere. One of the aspects that we see as absolutely necessary right now is doing things smarter. And that's not to say we've got all the answers. But some of the traditional temporary accommodation models, where a local authority might simply pay for a hotel room or a bed and breakfast, and family, again, Bob, Wendy, little Billy, are in a hotel room with very, very minimal, if any, support, just feels like we're boiling up a problem for the future. Because if little Billy is in a hotel room for 2-3 years of his life, not inviting friends around after school, not doing the sort of things that we might have done when we were growing up, it just doesn't feel right from our point of view. So one of the big areas that we as a business and from a personal point of view are really focusing on is trying to drive AOP Breathe, which is the family supported housing solution. So we've got 50 or so houses either live or being mobilised in Bristol. It's been taken forwards in a big way in Leicester, and we're talking to about 30 other local authorities. AOP generally as a model allows the local authority to drastically reduce their subsidy loss issues, potentially up to 75% reduction. And that allows some of the more innovative or brave local authorities to move a bit of that funding, and genuinely just a bit, into paying for support. So if we can bring the home forwards, whether it's a 2, 3 or 4 bedroom space, if the local authority can divert some of that money that wasn't changing lives, was simply holding people stable, into support, our complex needs specialists and the teams we work with, our partners, can come in and actually make sure that little Billy is given the best chance for success. So I think from my point of view, AOP Breathe is definitely the drive and the focus for the next 12 to 24 months.
So it's a long-term plan at the end of the day. You need it to be like a long term, because if you're not, as you said, kind of little Billy, it's just going to be a cycle where, down the line, he's going to be back at square one. So
exactly that. So again, I think we've got 2 managing directors, and that they both bring hugely different skill sets that really do complement each other. But Mark, one of the other Marks that we've got, his personal drivers are into the youth space. When I hear him talk about how he wants to help little Billy, or then particularly with AOP Momentum, the care levers, if we can just give those younger people a chance to get onto the right path, then we've set them up to have opportunities for the future. If we don't, society is just writing them off, and it's such a long way back if it goes wrong at an early age.
No, it's for sure. I mean, before here, I was a behaviour mentor in a school, dealing with secondary school, so from age 11 till 16, and it's quite a similar position to what you're saying. Like, society's just ripped them off, and obviously they've come over to where we were, because it weren't in a school, it was like in a separate kind of alternative provision, so to speak. And it's quite similar, where the kids have obviously got challenging lives and situations, but they just kind of need that stable kind of pathway to get them back right on track. Right, they're still young, they've still got so much of their lives to live, so it's good. It's a good thing, this ALP. So hopefully,
it is. I know both of us, you far more than me, are into our fitness and and being healthy. And one of the
I don't know, Mark. I see you get some stuff in. So,
and one of the things we're doing at the moment, we're working with one of our independent charity partners.
Yeah.
And again, this is part of that bringing the sectors together. So I think AOP works because we've deliberately combined public sector, third sector, and private sector, because we all bring different things, whether that's funding from the public sector, whether it's governance and oversight from the third sector, and then we bring a certain nimbleness. So 2024, no AOP units. Today, 880 commissioned.
It's good.
With the greatest of respect, and having worked in the third sector, that's a private sector thing that you bring forwards. But one of the things we're doing at the moment, chatting to some of our residents in our seen and heard micro hostel settings in Leicester and Aylesbury, a couple of the guys were talking about when they were at school, football team. Bit of, banter, bit of camaraderie, friends around them, and just reflecting how good those times were. So we've reached out to More Than a Roof, which is a charity that we support. And we're currently going through a process of trying to raise 25 grand to put functional gym equipment, those things you see in the park, at all three of our seen and heard micro hostels. And the More Than a Roof team are actually trying to go a little bit further and commission some personal trainers to come in.
Nice.
Because from my point of view, if you can give someone that fire in the belly from a little bit of exercise, you go to bed tired, having done a bit of exercise. If you can get that dopamine hit, that addiction into people's mindsets, dare I say, it's very difficult to give it up. So we're trying to test that as a very early stage theory, because Bob is not going to change his life because we say, Bob, you need to change your life. Bob's going to change it because he wants to. So what you really, really want to do is give him that motivation and that energy. And I think physical activity, we're designed to be...
It's massive. It's massive. I kind of go back to what I was doing prior to obviously recruitment. I used to coach some jiu-jitsu, these kids, and from the ones that don't want to participate in the jiu-jitsu to the ones that do eventually participate in it, the difference you see going forward in these kids' lives is massive. What have you got any success stories from the ALP?
Yeah, so probably the one there's two actually that really stick in my mind, and both where we've got a fully established pathway. So the way AOP works most effectively is safe and sound direct access, seen and heard micro hostel, live and grow independent living flats, and the ability to flow between them. So I'll call her Wendy again. So Wendy had actually been referred in and was living in some of the live and grow independent flats. And because we are really mindful that it's important to help Wendy or Bob stay safe. So that particular live and grow service is CCTV monitored by our concierge specialists overnight, and they'd identified a stream of guests and suspected inappropriate behaviour or an inability for Wendy to keep herself safe. And I think that's the biggest thing out of all of this that we collectively need to realise, that a lot of the behaviours that we see, maybe on the streets in town or more generally in the sector, are not a choice. They're a necessity or an inability not to do whatever that is. The complex needs specialists engaged. We're talking to Wendy and helping Wendy understand herself that some of the behaviours she was engaging in were unsafe. It's not for us to decide what Wendy does with her life. So we worked with the partner agencies. And after a period of about 6 weeks, Wendy made the decision that she needed to make a choice to be more safe and asked to step back into the micro hostel. You have never seen a change like it. I happened to be in the hostel about 2 weeks later. Visual appearance, stood up straight, confidence, because those hostels are staffed 24 hours a day. There was a reason for her to say no, because she could be behind the concierge specialists and just moving forwards with her life. So long way to go. But the ability to help people or to create the environment in which people can make choices of their own, absolutely legendary.
Brilliant. It's a start, which is the main thing. So
similar location. I'll stick with Bob as my standard name. So Bob actually moved between both settings. So Bob has gone from independent living, live and grow, was doing really well. I mean, really well. So he actually took part in a white collar boxing match to raise funds for Mind, the charity. because of some circumstances that his brother was facing.
Yeah.
So was in the gym, was training hard, was getting ready, was fundraising. Genuinely really good story. But through that process, and this is where unintended consequences can really kick in, the gym setting was just a little bit testosterone fueled.
Yeah.
And it started to play havoc with his own mental health, spiraling a little bit, relapsing, self-medicating, and a range of things that were not ideal. And again, Bob was able to step back into the Seen and Heard micro hostel.
Yeah.
Worked with some of our team that are very specialist in supporting in the substance misuse space. And I heard last week he's actually moved back into his Live and Grow independent flat.
Right.
The elasticity of AOP, step up, step down, avoid fracture in the journey, is genuinely what's making it work.
Some really good success stories, so hopefully many more to come, Mark. Regarding just kind of, outside of the AOP and just looking at the sector as a whole, what would you say if you could change, one or two things about what the housing sector is like at the moment, or what you think needs to be implemented? What would you change? What would it be?
So it's really interesting. Someone asked me this last week, and the word that one of my colleagues actually mentioned was the word bravery.
Yeah.
So I think within public sector space, local authority, central government, there is comfort in doing things how we've always done them.
Yeah.
So if you imagine there's 317 local authorities across the UK, we work across all of our spread of services, whether that's Ministry of Justice, Category 3 accommodation, or traditional temporary accommodation and AOP. We work in 151 areas. So that's 151 relationships that already exist.
Yeah.
Yet Active Opportunities Pathway, which I'm biased, but I would argue is probably the most effective model out there right now, has only really been adopted by about 6 authorities. We have lots of conversations. We explain the benefits, we explain the value, and we explain just how cost effective it is for the local authority.
Yeah.
We get really positive comments back that this just sounds too good to be true. But only 6 have actually latched onto it.
So, just obviously to interrupt you there, if it's too good to be true, why would you say they're not taking on that leap of faith?
We regularly have that discussion in the office. And I think sometimes it's down to the officer that you talk to.
Yeah.
So if I look at the areas that we're currently delivering AOP, Leicester, Coventry, Bristol, Aylesbury, Wolverhampton, those commissioners were prepared to be brave.
Yeah.
They were prepared to talk to a private sector company with all of the governance protection of our third sector partners and actually test. And in all of those areas where we've tested with an initial service, they've all come back and asked for more or different.
Yeah.
And I think my ask for the sector more broadly is take a chance.
Yeah.
The status quo has to be shaken and upset a little bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and it's just not sustainable.
Yeah. Okay. So bravery. That's kind of the message going forward. No, I can appreciate that. And what would you say your biggest kind of misconceptions are within homelessness or temporary accommodation?
The biggest thing is that assumption that society still makes that Bob chooses to use substances, Bob chooses to drink. I defy any of us, however resilient they are, to be in that situation for more than 48 hours and not feel a need to escape.
Yeah.
Now, how Bob chooses to escape that world, we can make a decision that that's inappropriate or wrong. But if your choices are limited and you really are at the end of your tether, it's not Bob's personal choice out of seeking joy that he chooses to drink or use substances. And I think the other thing is there's really unpleasant people out there that are willing to sell things to people that are desperate.
So how do you think we can get people out of kind of this thinking that way about Bob, it's his choice, it's his decision, he's got himself into this, when obviously we both know working in the sector that's not the case at all. How do we get people kind of mind frame and, to change?
So I think one of the things is try and break down barriers.
Yeah.
So another of the charity partners that we work with, the Child Of Project, led by Sam de Cruz.
Yeah.
So she's helped 2 of our schemes with art projects.
Yeah.
I can't explain how powerful it is watching residents get so engrossed in the things that they're making, the art projects. And about 2 weeks ago, she took one of the art projects into central London to an exhibition.
Yeah.
And it was actually an opportunity for that piece of art to be sold to some high flyers in London with funds going back to that resident. Now, if you were trying to give someone a sense of self-worth, motivation, etc., that's the way to go. So I think deliberately finding opportunities to bring different sectors of society together to learn about each other's world, I think that is the way to go forwards. So it's any time we can create an opportunity where we can get the lived experience voice, particularly in the room with the decision makers, central government or local authority, that is powerful.
Perfect, Mark. Well, I mean, it's obviously great to have you on. Yeah, as I said, we've known each other now for a few years, so yeah, I know you're a great guy. I know the housing network means a lot to you as well, and kind of just the people you wanting to help in the community means a lot to you as well. So I hope obviously the viewers can obviously see from what you're saying and about the ALP, and hopefully it goes a long way. Many more local authorities look into it and willing to take that leap of faith. And as you said, going forward, people obviously need to be a bit more brave. So fingers crossed we can see that in the sector going forward. Perfect. But yeah, appreciate you coming on, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, mate.
See you, mate.
Thank you.